It is the Matt Mosley Show, and we're live. You know we're live when we're just right here in that studio, and we got a lot going on. The weather, all this winter weather's gone away. It's pretty outside. Boy, outside my house today, it's going to get in the 60s, sunny. I'm going to get out of the tennis court. Speaking of that, Kev, we'll do some Baylor basketball. I do need to talk about the Australian Open, though. I did something I didn't think I was capable of doing yesterday. And I'm not talking about my big victory over my childhood buddy, Ryan Thompson, which was a big win. He's 6'5". He's good at the net. I was able to lob him a lot, hit him with a few drop shots, and eke out a 7-5, kind of a tough 7-5 win in one set. Then we did a best of 5. But I know most people care about that. But I would like to say a word on the Australian Open. And Kevin, I need reminders this week. I really would like to try to get. And I thought about it this morning, and I thought, well, I can't. Day of is always tough. Day of. I only ask my people that I'm just like, they'll do it. They'll do it. They'll do it. And this guy would. But there are protocols at Baylor. You can't just call a coach on the day of. You've got to go through people, which is fine. We don't mind doing that. And Michael Woodson, the tennis coach, love that. Men's tennis, love that guy. And I just wanted maybe his thoughts on the Australian Open. Now, here is what I love. I love these majors. I love watching tennis. I love playing tennis. I used to be and I am still into golf. And I love seeing Brett Koepka come back to the PGA Tour. And what Justin Rose did at the Farmers Open was awesome. But I was more interested in, so here's what I did, Kevin, that was kind of, by my standards, was kind of amazing. The championship match, the final of the Australian Open with Rafael Nadal sitting up there just in his excitement at the deal. It was going to be at 2:30 in the morning. I really didn't. I'd been staying up way too late. I did not want to commit from 2:30 to 6:30 in the morning to watch. So here's what I did. I just stayed off social media all day. Stayed off my phone. Went to church.
I thought you were gonna say you pulled an all-nighter, like the old days in college.
I've done it. But one time I took some of that thin, what are those things called? Mini thins. It's what truck drivers use.
Okay.
I had to stay up for a math exam. Dr. Roth had a tough math exam. I think I decided to go stay up all night, and I went and got some of that. I think it's asthma medicine, but it doubles as truckers. It keeps truckers up, and that did some weird stuff to me. There were some things that happened to my body that I'd rather not talk about. Okay?
So you did over-the-counter meth.
Basically. At the time, it was just over at the local. If you're buying meds from behind the counter at the Exxon near the Baylor campus, you're probably not doing it right. Right? And I did. I said, I need some of those mini thins. And I'm telling you, there was some things that shriveled that did not need to. Yes, there were some issues there that I thought, I hope this is reversed. But I think I did okay on that exam, maybe, after staying up all night. I don't know why we used to do that. I mean, I did that for a New Testament exam with Keithley. I didn't take that stuff. I stayed up all night. And I did make a really good grade on that New Testament. Although Dr. Keithley, dang it, man. I was talking about him last night. I didn't get the grade I really deserved there. And I didn't fight. I look back on that. I should have fought for that a little more than I did. So if anybody in the Keithley family, if you're out there listening or watching, Naaman Keithley, the great New Testament, I really deserved a better grade than I got because of my final that I made. All right, but here's what I did. I went to church, went to Sunday school, was there late, so there was not a lot of interaction. And then somebody did bring it up, but they were nice about it. Have you watched yet? I said, I have not. And she simply said, it was a really fun or great match or whatever she said. So that's all I had to go on. Made it through church. Told my wife I'm not going to stick around and visit because I don't want somebody to actually say it. So I went out to the car and waited on her. And about 30 minutes later, she showed up. Anyway, that's nor here nor there. We ate, made it home, had tennis, then had a birthday party for my niece. Happy birthday to Millie, my beloved niece. They're in McKinney, Texas. All right. She turned 18. And so finally I sat down to watch it at about 10:15 last night. And I just enjoyed the heck out of it. And I was really hoping, even though, of course, it had been decided hours upon hours earlier. My gosh, how many hours was that? I mean, like almost whatever, like 16 hours. Anyway, I'm watching, and it was just so fun to experience the event and know that the rest of the world knows. But there it is. Way to go. Spoiler alert. We didn't give them a spoiler alert. Kev, how many hours? We're like 2 days after it now. Carlos Alcaraz with the win. I was really wanting the great Joker to do it, to get his 25th Grand Slam. He was really hanging in there in the fourth set to try to force the fifth set, and then he couldn't keep it on serve. Oh, he had the opportunity, and it was 5-4, and he's serving. And earlier in that game, in that set, he had saved a whole bunch of break points, and he couldn't do it. Carlitos broke him, and but it was still a great showing from. No, and I think this may be the last final he reaches. Never doubt the man. He's 38 years old. Never doubt the great Djokovic, the great Novak. But it was one of the last times where, and the whole crowd was behind him, and he was getting, he was egging the crowd on. What a neat moment. What a great major this was. Now, today's program, Kevin, you'll get to meet, sometimes you get to meet people, different people from my life. My former producer at ESPN Central Texas was a guy by the name of Steven Simcox. And man, it was he was incredible. And in fact, right now I'm sending you, Kev, his email, because
this is 2 shows in a row where we have encountered
old
radio people from your past.
Yeah.
Do I need to be worried at all here?
No, these are just people.
Okay.
No, you should feel great about it, because it just shows that I stay in contact, and then I have lifelong, lasting friendships with. Now, there are a few that we will not have on. Yeah. Okay, people from my past who shall remain nameless. But Simcox, he's the best, man. He was the greatest. And Kevin, and you're showing signs of this for me. What happens is, and you've done this, when I'm kind of struggling for a name or something's not coming, you'll kind of jump on. Simcox was better than anybody has ever been at that. Like I could just throw the most random thing out. That guy from like 10 years ago at TCU, boom, he would have it for me. This guy at Baylor from 19, he just had this innate knack for recall and being able to kind of whatever I was thinking, he could somehow tap into my brain, which is scary. But we remain great friends, and he's a great family man. Kev, kind of like you, he has a large family, and he decided, you know what, this mortgage business seems pretty. I think I can go make some pretty good money over here. and he left radio behind, but it's still in his blood. He still loves it, and he was a guy that went to TCU, and so we'll talk to him about on a lot of different fronts. Happy Super Bowl week to everybody. We'll be going this week, some to Radio Row. We'll be checking in with some people. Some people are traveling out there today, and everybody's asking me if I'm there. Are you here? Are you here? Very, very interesting. There it is, the Seahawks and the Patriots. Kev, I noticed that Josh McDaniels of the famed longtime offensive coordinator for the Patriots under Bill Belichick, and then of course he would go and do his own thing, and then he would come back, and then he had like 2 chances to be a head coach. It didn't work either time, and then they keep bringing him back, and I believe obviously they brought him back. This will be his 10th Super Bowl to coach in. His 10th, I believe, all with the New England Patriots. Unbelievable. Some of the things that you see. And then, Kevin, you'll notice today I grabbed, the nicest sweatshirt I could find. A little snugger than I would like to admit. This thing's kind of, but it's green and gold. Not an official Baylor sweatshirt, but I think the person who gave it to me, Kev, kind of had that in mind. Kind of a Mosley's big Baylor guy. Let's give him a green and gold type sweatshirt. I don't know. This is kind of like what is that on there, Kev? That's almost like a buffalo or something. I don't know. I don't even know what the brand is, but I'll tell you what, it's a snug and it's a warm sweatshirt, and it reminds me, Kevin, that the Baylor Bears went out and won a dang basketball game on Saturday. And at one point, Kevin, I tweeted on Saturday. I don't know how much you're monitoring my Twitter on the weekends, Kevin. I'm sure you take a peek every now and then. But I made the statement as I was watching Baylor turn it over on like 3 straight possessions in the first half, maybe 4 straight possessions. And I just said I would like to turn it over to the BYU-Kansas game and just watch that. I would like to be able to, but our alma maters are like marriages, in sickness and in health. In sickness and in health. All right? That is what, and Kevin knows what I'm talking about because he's an IU fan. And while he's riding high right now with the Hoosiers, he was out in the wilderness a lot over the years, always in football. And honestly, in basketball for the last, 10, 15 years, other than maybe a time here or there, they went to the NCAA tournament. He was out in the wilderness. They were not good. They were making changes. They had the brief time, Kevin, where they brought in the guy who used to be at Marquette. And I think he had like 1 decent season as the head coach at Indiana. How do I know this? Because I feel like I saw him when I was at a Sweet 16 in Atlanta one year.
Tom Crean had a good run of like 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my younger brother-in-law actually played basketball AAU against his son down in southern Indiana when he was there.
There you go. But Tom Crean, also interestingly, the brother-in-law of the Harbaughs. The brother-in-law of Jim and John Harbaugh, because he married their sister. I believe that's how it goes. I just remember looking over there and seeing the Harbaughs at the Sweet 16. I think they were there. They may have run into a good Kentucky team in that Sweet 16, if memory serves correct. And that was the end for that Indiana team.
North Carolina.
Oh, they ran into UNC.
Yep, I think it was 14.
That sounds about right. Because I went out there to see Baylor, and Baylor made it to the – I think we won our Sweet 16 game and made it to the Elite 8, but that was where they ran into a Kentucky team, and that was the Calipari's best Kentucky team by far. That was Anthony Davis and that whole crew. Goodness gracious. I mean, not all those guys became NBA stars. Anthony Davis did, but Gilchrist, they had somebody, Gilchrist was like a hyphenated name. Gilchrist something. Anyway, that Kentucky team was
Gilchrist Alexander.
No,
not Shea.
No, he's way too young.
They had
that.
the two brothers were on that team. Right?
Kid Gilchrist, I think, was the guy's last name, but no. Two brothers. Well, let me think for a second. Okay. I don't think they played with Anthony Davis. I know you're talking about. They had twins, and they did make it to the Final Four. And Ohio State was in that Final Four. I think Wisconsin was in that Final Four. UConn won that Final Four because that one was in Dallas. I do not think Anthony Davis played with those twins. I don't know, but it is easy, Kevin, to distract me into one of those conversations. But that was Calipari's flat out best teams. I just don't think those twins were on that team. I think they're younger. But of course, I was wrong recently about one of the stars of that UConn team that did win the national title under Kevin Ollie. And their best player was named Shabazz Napier. I think, if memory serves correct. Hey, thank you, CNB. Thank you, Central National Bank. Kevin, I know you've been working on. We're going to have those new commercials. It's so exciting. CNB has their great relationship with the Baylor Bears, Baylor women. Baylor women, I just need to rip the Band-Aid off in case you didn't know. They went to West Virginia. The first quarter, they scored 9 points. They got outscored 15-9. They were in the game at halftime. They're only down by about 6. Kev, they just didn't. They shot the ball horribly. They shot 30% from the field. Bella was 2 for 10. She's had an awful year shooting. I would say Bugs was maybe their best player in this game, although Talia had 18. Our Van Geitenbeek sadly went out there and did not score a point. She's a point guard, and I love him. She's great. But let's call it what it is. Your two guards combined for 11 turnovers. Kevin, they turned it over 30 times. I mean, that's almost hard to do. We did that against Wills Point one time, I think in the first half. We couldn't get it across midcourt because Wills Point had quite a trap. My dad, Kevin, was like, I remember we got in the car after the game and he said, "You guys look like the Keystone Cops." I don't think we had 30, Kevin, but we could not. They had some good players. We couldn't get it past midcourt. But in this game, just awful. You can't turn it over 30 times on the road against a top 25 team. They still kept it within 10 points, got beat 60-50, got the game in the fourth quarter. They got the game to within 53-48. So they kept playing, they kept hustling, all of that, but they just couldn't get a shot to fall. This is not a good shooting team. It is a good defensive team. It is a good rebounding team.
Well, the offensive rebounds 23-10 in favor of the Mountaineers. That's not going to do it either.
Killed on the glass all the way around, but you're right. Offensive, that's too much. You don't block out. You don't box out. You don't shoot the ball well. It just is a bad combo. I still think this can be a good team, and I got some good news because they got somebody committed to them that I really like. I'll look it up for later. Kevin, we can bring that into Campus Confidential. I kind of like the she's got great size. She can kind of do it all, and she's from an incredible AAU team. I think this new recruit's out of Arkansas. and she plays on an AAU team with this, like, maybe the best girl in America from Louisiana, who'll probably go play for Kim at LSU, who's 6'5". But this Baylor commit is top 25 in the country, and she's 6'4". This girl is probably going to go to LSU. I think is 6'5". But dang, man. But that's a bad loss. Now, the better news. Kev, back to the still photos of the men from the other day. Thank you, Omar or Obi. Thank you, Obi Agbum. I mean, when things were looking bleak in the second half and they were like 0 for their last 13 and neither team was scoring, they got it done. Agbum hits, Yesufu, big steal and a dunk. They got it out to him on some transition. I love Tunde Yesufu. I really do. It's like there are parts of this team that I really enjoy. I like Cam Carr in the open court. I like Cam Carr exploding into the lane with a finish. There he is. There he is finishing. I like Caden Powell, how hard he works on the boards. I like this team, how hard they'll go to the offensive glass sometimes. There's Cam Carr releasing it from deep. It's not a good shooting team. It's not. They hit the three in the first half, and they gave themselves an 8-point halftime lead, and then both teams. I mean, if you wanted to see it's what we call either you say great defense or you say horrible offense, or maybe it's both. But it led to the announcer, the analyst. His name is Mark Adams. No, not that Mark Adams used to coach Tech. Different Mark Adams. He's a former coach. Seemed like a nice guy. It was kind of a crew I didn't really recognize. And Baylor finally scores. And it might have been Yesufu, whoever scored, and he had a funny line. The analyst goes, it's one of the best 2-0 runs in the history of college basketball. It was good. It was a good line. I was like, man, that's funny. Best 2-0 runs in the history of college basketball. And he was right. It was so funny because we had sat there and watched neither team score for about 7 minutes. I mean, I don't know. Maybe West Virginia plays better than that against other teams, and I want to give Baylor credit for playing good defense, but yikes. I mean, I don't know who's supposed to be their best player. There was a lefty, I think. There was some kind of guy with a international sound. No, it wasn't international. It was a Native American type name. It was like, I don't know.
Eagle Staff?
Yeah. I like the Eagle Staff is something. And again, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if he's Native American or not, but that had a Native American sound to it. That dude can play, and he can. But they adjusted well to him. Stopped giving him threes. Didn't let him just completely go off, because there for a brief time I thought, oh no, another Atwell moment. The kid from Tech that went off. By the way, Texas Tech, and Kev, that their coach is a great friend of mine. They ran into problems there in Orlando. Kansas had the same thing happen. Texas Tech goes out to Orlando and kind of sleptwalked around and just kind of messed around, and UCF put one on them. Tech at the end tried to come back. UCF played some good defense down the stretch. Didn't let Outwell go. I mean, I never saw him take a shot in the last 9 or 10 minutes I was watching. Kevin, I was on the elliptical. I was on the elliptical machine. All right. It's not something I do very often, so I thought I would bring it up. I was doing a lot of this, doing a lot of elliptical, and it was just the perfect elliptical moment because, Kevin, I get the last 9.5 minutes of that game. And you know how long those things can take. And so like the last 8 or 9 minutes of that game got me to like 35 minutes on the elliptical. I didn't go crazy. I didn't go an hour like I used to. I did 30, but I don't want to fudge here. I think I did 32 minutes. Okay, 35. I was rounding up. 32 minutes, burned 400 calories. Not a lot. Not a lot for a man of my girth, weight. I bottom line is it was a good session and I was able to watch that whole game. But boy, it just reminded you, if you don't show up and you're on the road, one of these teams that's not supposed to be that great will put one on you. That's why Baylor they've got to kind of get ready for Wednesday. And do they have Colorado coming to town soon? I believe the Buffs are coming to town soon. Kev, is that game Wednesday or Saturday? It might Saturday. I think it's the Buffs. That's Colorado Buffaloes come to town.
You had it right. Wednesday.
I did.
And then Saturday is at Iowa State.
Oh, I hate that. I hate having to go. I hate to get some feels. I think they have a good chance to beat the Buffs at home, get this thing to 3-7, get some folks talking, saying nice things about the Bears, and then you got to go. You got to go to that place, and you got to think about that Hilton magic that happens there. That's okay. They'll go. They'll show up and do the best they can against Iowa State. That's tough to play those two road games, come home, get a home game, and then have to go to Iowa State. That's not fun. It's not fun. Okay, so wait a second. This doesn't make any sense to me. You said, okay, that does make sense to me now. We get the Buffs in here Wednesday and then West Virginia. Okay,
right.
Cool.
In Indiana, Indiana just played UCLA and then they play USC again. They're just staying out in Cali. I think some of the Hoosiers were going to the Grammys. I think.
Did the Hoosiers? How was that a close game the other day?
Oh yeah,
did it go to OT or did it cut? Was it 2 OT?
Double overtime. Freshmen, we got 3 of their top guys. 3 IU Hoosiers fouled out early in the first OT, and it was a freshman that came up with the game-winning free throw with 0.3 left. It shouldn't have even gotten that far. You're up 3, under 10 seconds left. Yeah. You foul in the backcourt. But Darren DeVries is from a mid-major, so he doesn't know that in the big conferences, and they allowed
He knows that. Stop! I do not want to hear any of that. He was at West Virginia for a season,
year,
and the guy can flat out coach. He was at Drake or wherever. They know that stuff. Don't act like the mid-majors don't understand what the big conference is.
He's a mid-major coach and mid-major players.
Listen, Buzz, but the guy from at A&M, Buzz, what's his name? Buzz Williams goes to Maryland. He's getting his rear handed to him in the Big Ten. Guy comes from mid-major, Bucky McMillan. Buckyball has to throw a team together at the last minute, and he's leading the SEC. I do not want to hear about how mid-major guys don't understand things. Now, they may have a different philosophy. Bill Self thinks the same way. The fouling when you're up 3 late, some coaches want to do it. Some coaches don't. I believe in doing it. Now, there's a certain time you don't do it. You don't start doing it when there's like 15 seconds left or 20 seconds, but when there's a certain amount of time in the 5, somewhere in the 3 to 8 seconds range or whatever, you do. You do. You don't want to get.
They got to go the length of the court in under 10 seconds. You let them take a couple dribbles. You foul them in the backcourt before they're
correct.
Correct.
But you just have to work on it because you can't let them get into that shooting motion, and that's what scares certain people like Scott Drew, like Bill Self. So don't tell me it's just guys from mid-majors that don't understand what they're doing. That's the craziest theory I've heard from you yet.
That is me backing up my own claim from whenever he was hired. He's the wrong hire, but
he's fine. He'll be fine. He's doing a good job. They're very competitive, and that guy before Mike, what's his name, was awful. Woodson. Y'all hired him because he played at Indiana. Oh, we got to hire one of our own, and
he used to coach in the NBA.
It was a joke. He wasn't that good in the NBA. That's not like, oh man, this guy was a great coach in the NBA. No, he just hung out forever as an assistant coach. That was a pathetic hire. Bottom line, most times if you hire a long-time NBA type people, at the college level, it does not work. And if you hire stars, see the guy at Memphis right now, and he's actually done better than most former superstars. Hardaway's actually done better than most. Most of them end up like Jerry Stackhouse or Clyde Drexler at Houston. I mean, you give them these jobs, or Juwan Howard. He actually did okay for a little bit. Juwan did. And then Juwan, of course, wore out his welcome. Patrick Ewing was horrific at Georgetown. It turns out, by the way, that nobody but John Thompson can win at Georgetown. One of the greatest programs in the history of college basketball. And since he retired, they've basically never won again. His son kind of was okay, but they've just sucked forever, just for years upon years and years. All right, we got a really good guest lined up at 2:00 today, and the only last thing I'll say on Baylor men, it's just you got to try to. There's been no identity. One of the things Doug McNamee is asking for a lot of the programs, especially with football, what's our identity? When people think of Baylor football, like what do they think of? High flying? Do they think of toughness? Do they think of blah blah blah? Have some form of identity that the fan base and others can attach to. This Baylor basketball team had, really no identity. It still doesn't. But for one day, they got involved in a rock fight, and dang it if they didn't win it. If they didn't get down and dirty, and they played man, and they got away from the zone, and they got up in their face, and they played man defense and played it well. And they really didn't allow West Virginia to get threes, to penetrate, to do much of anything. So let's hang your hat on that. The shots aren't always going to fall. They didn't in the second half. But you can always play defense. And my hat's off to the great Yesufu for getting down in a defensive stance and playing his rear off on that end. Okay? He's got the ability to do it. But he doesn't always do it. And in that game, he did. So good defense from the Bears. Najee never got off the bench. James Najee. Never before has so much been made about so little. I mean, James Najee, God love him. He's just not ready for prime time. He's not ready for the NBA, college, anything. So James Najee needs to, after the season, quietly be allowed to go back to overseas and pursue his career. And I wish him nothing but the best. But he has no place on a college roster. He has no place on an NBA roster. He needs to be playing international basketball where they can just kind of do whatever they need to do with him. But he is not a factor for the Baylor Bears. Can we just all agree upon that? And they've got plenty of depth and height on the way. All right. Let's, again, love him. Think he's a neat. I heard an interview. He's great. But he does not need to be on the Baylor roster next season, of all places. My goodness. Oh. Okay, Kev, it is time for Campus Confidential. That's next.